Thank you all for tuning in to Breathing is Highly Dangerous. We are giving our first breath, working toward and hoping for the next, all the while fearing our last. Welcome to the show.
No,
The event.
a little bit more grand.
The movement.
That's better, I like that.
The movement of the century.
Well, movement, that may be a little bit much. How about a conquest to ferment the ones ignoble that try to impinge their iniquitous veracity to our thoughts?
Look, man, do you want me to do this or not? Either way, I get paid.
Sorry, go ahead.
We've come to ask why, but never satisfied with a simple answer. Discovering the not-so-secret secrets. Playing coy into the ploy, kicking every rock, smiling with joy. Here is your host. He puts the U in unusual, the P in pterodactyl. Not just why, he also asks how. If you suffer from
Hippopotamonstros esquipedaliophobia.
please leave now. No one will believe you. I give you Emmanuel Manny Stewart.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you all and welcome back to Breathing is Highly Dangerous. This is Emmanuel here. I'm here with a solo video, audio. That's going to be something that more frequently happens. So today I'm actually going to be talking about the current state of prison systems. I'm just generally talking about prison, not anywhere in particular, but it is in, this video idea was invoked by a post I saw online. I don't check social media often, only when I'm posting stuff, but I saw this very sensational, like glamour, not sensation, sensational in the way of it was trying to, elicit a response of we need prison reformation, and I saw that and I read some of the comments and the reaction. I'm like, I informed myself about certain prison systems a long time ago, this is not a topic I'm really interested in, but I had researched it before on my own, so I know a bit about it. So I'll just share what I know and what I think about that. The post was in reference to the conditions and the nourishments of prisoners. It looked like to be an American prison. Let me see if I can pull it up. I didn't save it or anything. I don't know if you can do that, but I'll just try to describe it as best as possible. But it showed like pictures of the food that they served. It showed the pictures of like the ceilings and rats and mice inside the prison system, and then it was then it showed some other stuff like yeah. So it was basic. The intention of the post was to elicit a type of response that was like, hey, we need to change this, and I agree. But my reasons are different. I'd say my reasons are a little bit different, because it's not that. So this is before, because I responded. I was going to respond to the post, but I don't do that. I do that rarely. So I'm like, whenever I just think about something, I just write it down, and then I'll think about it later. So this is what my response to the picture that it shows. Like I said, conditions they don't want to go back to if they get out. The conditions shouldn't be torturous, never, but not comfortable. If the system worked correctly, only criminals would be in prison. Prisoners are being punished and corrected. Prison is a harsh reality because of your choices, not a vacation. So there's a few things I spoke to in that, which is why I decided to make a video about it instead of a post, because I couldn't address everything, because what I'm saying is too blatant for the facts that I'm having that are supporting those ideas of prison. So before I do that, I'd like to I'll let that stir in your mind. If that angers you, just wait for my explanation. Don't get angry until I explain it fully. So before I address the prison system, the conditions of the prison system, I'd like to address first why prison is necessary in the first place, right? So prison, and this is not me using anyone's definition, it's just pure. Everything I'm saying, you can look it up for yourself. I'm not trying to get you to believe anything. I'm just telling you how I see it. And then if you see something that you disagree with, or that you know not to be true, let me know. Or if there's something that you question, research it yourself, or ask me to explain further and elaborate further. If I can, I will. When you're considering prison, how humane is prison in the first place? Society allows prisons to exist because they don't want to deal with the reasons why people commit crimes. They want to. So once a criminal is off the streets to the public does not, the overwhelming, the general public does not consider the life of that person anymore, unless they have a personal connection to an inmate. And that is, whether or not that is true for you, because if you have someone that you are close to that is in, if you're using someone that you care about that is in prison, and you're saying, oh, they didn't deserve that. They shouldn't. Like the conditions for my family member is like, no. We need to do all these things because my family member's in there. I'm like, okay, cool. Oh no, it's like caring about it. Caring. So you say you care about the inmates because you have a family member in there. It's like, okay, so what is the name of the cellmate of your family member, right? Or what is the name of what's the name of the what do you call him? The head of the prison. You care so much about all the other prisoners. You care, okay. So when I make these generalizations that are accurate representations of society, of general society, not individuals within the society that also make up the society, but because they are a minority, you can't, So it's like having a drop of hot sauce in a glass of water. It's going to change the flavor a little bit, but the majority of it is still water, right? So yes, it may change the color, but when you remove that, it's going to be easier to remove the hot sauce than remove the water, right? So when you scoop it out, you're scooping out mostly water, not, You know what I mean? So there's different analogies for that, but sticking to generalities. So being general and based on observations of modern current society, not you individually. We do not care about prisoners. Society does not care about prisoners. They don't even care to see inside a prison. So whose job is that? It's the people in charge of the prisons. They're the only people that see the prisons. They're the only people that, quote unquote, care about the prisoners inside. Other than the family members of the prisoners, right? If they have any. Those are the people that care about those prisoners. Now, is it easier to disregard? Is it easier to do the bare minimum? Is it easier to is it easier to try, or is it easier not to try? Is it easier to lay down, or is it easier to walk? Simple answer, it's easier to lay down. So doing the bare minimum, because you can't, regardless of the name of your establishment, you have a choice to do that. So we're getting off point. But in terms of, so who's caring about the prisons? You don't really care. Most people don't really care. So why is prison necessary in the first place? prison is meant, I think, I don't know, well, origination of prison. Prison is meant to hinder someone from their own autonomy. So prison is taking control of someone's life that society or someone has judged them to be unfit of having control of themselves through actions that are deemed as unsavory to society. So crimes, right? Someone that commits crimes, and based on the degree of the crime that you commit will determine the punishment. So prison is taking time away from a person's life so they can figure out a better choice to make. So that's why a lot of some prisons are now called correctional facilities. Right? But prison didn't originate as that. Prison was originally like they would have indentured servitude. So so depending on the crime. So throughout history, the punishments for crimes, they were either given by the victim of the crime itself, of someone known of the victim or alleged victim, someone known of the alleged victim, the society itself, after there was been proved that they had deemed enough evidence against this person. So the society itself, the people in that community would then punish that person, or there would be a judge. And then now today we've got Parliament, we've got the magistrates, we've got the judges and lawyers and defensive and all that stuff. So now we've got a different version of it. But originally, depending on the crime, would be determine the amount of punishment you receive. So this is the basic knowledge. So you would get killed, you get an arm chopped off, an eye stabbed out, like eye for an eye. So if there was anything physical, that physical thing would be done unto you. If it was anything, it was monetary, it would be a physical, it would be a punishment that would make you likely to not commit that crime again, or render you physically unable to commit that same crime again. Whether that be by mutilation, death, or so mutilation or death. Imprisonment is a relatively modern solution in terms of institution where prisoners go. But indentured servitude, where you would take people's time, that was originally, so it was sort of connected to debt. So this thing, I'm trying to keep as linear as possible, but as you see, this is all time and history, all connected. So indentured servitude, it was connected to prison systems, but it was used for debts as well as people committing crimes. So this is throughout the world. I'm being very general. I'm not focusing based on a particular country, but with my experiences, that's going to make me think about a particular country. If that makes you think about somewhere particular, that's okay. That's just how our brains make connections. It's through similarities and patterns. So I'm not talking about anything particular. I'm just talking about overarching throughout time. So slaves, indentured servitude, that was a form of prison. Okay? So, and these were either meant to make that the criminal a better person, or simply take away their time, right? So depending on who's giving you dealing out that punishment, they could have their own motives for why they put you for the punishment that they give you. Which is a problem, but we'll talk about that once we get further into the conversation. So with this indentured servitude, this idea of are you going to are you going to be corrected, or are we just taking away your time? So are we doing something to help you help yourself so you don't do this to other people, or is it a strict punishment for, hey, you're not going to do this again, we're going to make sure you can't do this again, and we don't care why you did it, you did this, we don't want you to do it again, so you're not going to be able to do it again. That is the more, people would say, archaic, I guess, the archaic version of punishment. Now today, go back to so there's a lot of stuff in the middle. Connect the dots. Connect the dots. If you want me to keep it on a track, hey. There's too much stuff going in that I just want to get into, but to keep it on this topic of prison. So we come to more modern times. We've got prison. So the second question I asked, so that was the first question, why prison is necessary to punish, right? We've described that. I saw there's more arguments to be made, of course, but these are the ones that I think are most important that I address logically. And then, so now I think about the second question that I would ask is, what should be an offense that gets you incarcerated, that would warrant someone else being able to judge how much time away from my life that I get because of a offense I did or they think I did. So in this argument, okay. So when I'm talking about punishment, I am thinking guilty, right? We keep this in mind right now. Right now, keep this linear focus, keep this linear track, because I have to bring in that variant in later in this conversation. This is very important. So that's what I'm going to have to do for myself as well, to make sure I'm focusing on keeping it and keeping that variable consistent. That when I'm right now, until I bring it up, the criminal that we're calling a criminal is guilty. That person has committed an act that can be deemed offensible. It's an offendable act that you would consider. So rationally, you would consider an offensible act as well. So it's something that, okay, right? So they did something. They did what they're accused of. That's what we're saying. This person did what they accused of in this scenario. So what should be in, this next word I'm about to use, I wrote it down, but I don't think it's a word, but I like the way it sounds when I say it. Incarcerationable offense. And I don't think that's, I don't think that's a word, but it sounds nice. Incarcerationable. So when you think about what should time be taken away from you for, and how much time does a reasonable person believe for it to take for you to correct that action and not commit it again? And what services are there going to be for you when they take away that time for you to be able to sort of encourage that want to correct behavior. So if there's too much time, it's like, why correct something if I'm not going to have this time back? And also, am I in for enough time for me to have reliably changed enough? So that is something that is incredibly hard to determine, and that's what you would consider parole, right? That's what parole is someone that has shown that their time in prison has been complimentary, right? It has worked the system has worked itself out. So now they're showing behavior that seems like they should be re-implemented into society, and they could be a better part. And they still got their dues to pay. They've got parole fees, and they've got to meet with someone to make sure they're on the right track. The issue with that, we will address later. But the system, the Western system, the American system, as I view the American system, the European system, the Western European system, prison system, they've got these things done pretty well. They've got the rules in place, and if they were working very well, then the system would be great. It would be fun. But what should be an incarcerationable offense, right? So, yes, that's the second question. What is that? And that's not a question I'm going to answer. That's just something that I'd like for other people to ponder before they even think about inside the prison. So before you get to prison, what's happening? What's causing the need for prison? So those are two main questions. There could be more questions brought up, but let me see. I don't know if there's anything else I would deem as important. Why prison is necessary? Why should people be in prison? And what should they be in prison for? Third, who's making the determination for this time? Who's making the determination right, so justifying taking away someone's life? Because time is the only thing that is consistent with our life. The most important is time, because nothing else matters without your life. Naturally, nothing can matter if you don't have your life. Easy statement. I'll expand on that in later videos. But who has the authority to take away someone's time? Who and why and how did they get that authority? Right? So that's another question. We know who these people are. We know how they got there. These are questions that can be answered. But in terms of humanity, what gives them more natural, right? Natural authority other than natural how is one human to another to say, okay, because you did this, we are deciding that this is the amount of time that it's going to take for you. This is the bare minimum amount of time it's going to take for you to get back in our good graces. So, with that considered, who's giving the amount of time? Then what is the necessity of putting a number on the time? If you're taking away time, any little bit of time, 5 seconds is someone's time, 5 minutes is someone's time, 5 years, 5 months, 5,000 years, 5 millennia, which is 5,000 years. any amount of time is taking away someone's time. So making it necessary for someone to show up to court is taking away their time. Right? So these are things I consider, and this is a philosophical sort of ideology. By definition of philosophy or philosophical. It's not inspired by any philosophers. Believe it or not. Guarantee someone else has thought about the same thing. But that's what it is. It's thoughts based on observation. And I choose to observe rather than do lots of reading based on about someone else that I can. If they can think, I can think. So why not think for myself? And that's what I like to do. And I encourage other people to do that with things that they are interested in. I'm interested in just about everything. Just about, I said. There are things I limit myself to. There's things I don't care about. But I can find some interest in connection to certain things. Whether or not be what people create is the people themselves. Whether or not be the people themselves is what they create. So all those things are connected. So a disinterest in one item will lead into an interest into another. So go back to the point. When we answer that, who gets that control? Who has the authority? Why do they have that authority? And then why put a number on the time? That's arbitrary it's arbitrary. Like any amount of time is you physically, you could never not, there's no way you could decide the guilt someone feels, the remorse someone feels in your mind based on someone else's mind. No zero amount of psychology will determine that. In terms of a finite, right? Because any psychology or any type of reading is going to always be what 70 to 80%, right? That's the number that they use, right? Only could be 70 to 80% correct, and that's an immense 20% that you don't have control of, right? 30 to 20%. So that said, the number of time there's no from a moral perspective, it's the importance of the time that you take away from someone is not as important of the act of taking away their time to begin with. Right? And that's also me considering the worst of crimes too. The worst of crimes. I'm considering the worst of crimes. Trust me. When I speak about things like this in person, in real life, people can't see I'm speaking from experience and not just numbers. I use numbers as well as experience because I like to understand what people with numbers are using as well as what people with their own anecdotes have. So I have anecdotes of my own, right? And I have been extremely affected and victimized by the things I talk about. So anything I talk about is something I have a certain amount of experience with, enough to talk about it in person, in real life, because I'd rather talk to a person face to face rather than talk to... I can talk to myself, but in terms of knowing someone's going to hear this later and I can't hear the response right away is a little bit, strange. But anything is strange. Anything can be considered strange. So this is not stranger than why people like ranch dressing, blue cheese, ketchup, relish. All those things are very strange. And you may think they are normal. To me, that is not. And I don't accept them. But yes. That's the main. That was so. Those are the three questions I asked before. I'm sorry. It wasn't very linear. I tried to keep it linear. It wasn't. Why is prison necessary? What creates an incarcerationable offense? And who's to judge the amount of time that you are incarcerated? Now, depending on the crime, the severity of the crime, we may, so once we have that, so say we determine and we put a consistent line of crimes that if you commit it, your time is going to be taken. It doesn't. So this is why we need to. A number of time is arbitrary. So just say, okay, you commit this crime. It's proven that you've done it. You could go away for life if you do these things, or you could go away for a day. Right, depending on why you did it, and there's reasons. Okay, so this is we're creating a utopian society right now. No, we're not, because utopian society would be no crime. So we're making the society that's right now in place work better. So this is the changes that we make. This is prison reform right now. So disregarding of variables that we will address later, this is what should be done. So these lists of crimes, if they are committed, you are committing yourself to the rest of your life on free. Okay. Once you're criminal, you've committed the crime, you're in prison. The prison, because it has decided to take away the life of this person, it is mandated that they are met with the bare minimum conditions for the survival of this person for the extent of their natural life. So this is also not considering death penalty, which I can address later in this video as well. We'll address that. It's going to be quick, that mention of it. However, it's not considered in this scenario. But since you have decided to take the time of this person, it is now upon you to make sure this person lives to the fullest amount of time of their lifespan, their natural life, that they are able to live that natural life in a way that is not going to create sickness, expose them to things that they would not reasonably be exposed to if they had a choice not to be exposed to it in the outside free world as a free person. This is considering male and female. It is also upon you to make sure that the other inmates that you have, it is also imperative that you make sure the interaction with each other is not creating more crime. So it's not creating more of a danger to anyone, to the other inmates. So in that you can consider isolation, right? Should that be the case? Maybe, maybe not. But these are all things that so it's upon the people caring for the prisoners to provide services that will help the prisoner participate in actions that would be a deemable help, or give redeeming qualities, so that they are safe and they can be deemed safe to society that's how they want to play. Knowing, and then we got the strike things, which is a good implementation if used the right way. But yes, yes. So considering flaw, so that is the only system that would work. Those systems are in place right now. They just aren't functioning quite correctly. And you have to have people that really care, really care about all things around the nature of why they committed of the individual inmates. You need individual you just need individual approach to rehabilitation, right? To understand why they commit the crime and to determine if they are reasonably going to commit it again. So if the reason is no longer exists for them to commit the crime, then they won't commit if you understand that why they committed the crime, if you help them and give them the tools to function and outside of that, understand the reasons why they committed in the first place. So if you give them the tools and resources to not have that reason when they go back outside, then they won't commit that same crime, and you can give them a better understanding of why they're being imprisoned in the first place and what to do to prevent them from going to prison or doing committing these offenses. That's simple, and that needs to be individual. It can't be in groups. It has to be individual with someone that builds rapport, right? I'd like to be one of these people. Technically, it is possible. Only in groups, but never individually. I could never know everyone as great as I want to know them because I don't want to know everyone. Therefore, I don't consider, because I can't, I don't want to. You know what I mean? It's not, I want other people to want to as well and care about prisoners. Because I truly do care about them as a human being. Before they were a prisoner, they were a human being. Before they committed a crime, they were a human being with the same life and potential as I have as being outside of prison. So that's important. I'm going to have a lot of stuff to cut out. So then there's got to be a system that determines that they are good enough, that they are right. So the parole system would make sure they're consistently doing things and effort, and they're in the right. They got the right people around them, not necessarily not other parolees or criminals, because that just takes away opportunity from them, from knowledge. It's like, hey, I'm successful now, let me help you out here. But if you can't be around another person that's been incarcerated, what stupidity is that? Especially if they were, I mean, maybe you can't be around someone else on parole or something. But I don't know, there's rules to that. I know that criminals, you can't be around another convicted person. It's ridiculous. That's that's the thing. If you're not rehabilitated while you're out of prison, if you go on to prison in this society where you're going to prison for something that you were willing to risk your entire life for, but now you're out, and now you're still committing crimes, that means you didn't have enough time, you didn't get rehabilitated. So if you're going back to prison didn't help you enough not to be able to go back. And that's what I believe prisons to be. Anyone that goes to prison, you can only go to prison once. But we should do everything in our power to prevent anyone from going to prison, right, in the first place. So that's the first thing. Okay. Now we are going to address, and that's the perfect thing. And then if they wind up committing offenses more than that, we study that. I don't know. There should be a mark system, but then at that time, maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be longer, because maybe they've encountered a new problem But I think you should, with this system, you should be able to, it's all about rehabilitation. So solving your problems, not, and addressing them, and not just punishment. It should be rehabilitation. The punishment is your time taken away. So that's not the right. So that's simple enough. There's more things to discuss. There's more nuances in terms of financial stuff, but that you have to care in order. There has to be someone that doesn't care shouldn't get the finances. So that someone that cares is willing to take, I believe, reasonably. If you care more about something, you're willing to get less capital. You're fulfilled by the work more than you are by the money because of the work. You know what I mean? Okay. I hope that's addressed. So now we go to the current state. The current state. Why? So seeming that is what the best of society would look like, in my opinion. And if you don't agree, tell me why. Don't disagree in your head. Vocalize it, please, to me, and help me understand your perspective. However, currently, so the optimal conditions of the prison system, I said, those operations and operatives are currently available. People aren't just putting in the effort. So what is the issue? Is people caring? Right? So that's one issue. The main issue, number one issue with the prison system right now, number one issue. And if anyone says anything different, don't talk to me. I'm kidding. Talk to me. But explain yourself. Because I'm about to explain this really good. You cannot say there's another problem. This is the main problem. The number one problem with the current the current prison system, the current jail system, the current judicial system. Innocent people are being put behind bars. Number one issue. So this is about to bleed into an entire conversation right now with myself and you. Understand, I have thought about this deeply. And this, if people see, okay, this part is going to be clipped out. You need to recognize this. This one problem here, the amount of people that hear this versus the amount of people affected by it, and the amount of people affected by it, because innocent people are put into prison, that means we are all at risk of being put into prison at any time, regardless of race. Yes, there is a standard of inconsistency, higher weighted incarceration of certain colors, but disregarding of that, for now. Because we have to think about humans first. We got to think about humans first before race, because you don't choose your race. People make choices to identify your race and then treat you differently based upon that. But the only race is human race, in my opinion, right? So, and then people make their choices, right? Yes. First thing, so if innocent people are in prison, whether or not they have any connection to the original crime, any connection to someone, like in terms of location or doesn't matter. If there are innocent people in prison, no matter why they are there, if they are innocent of the crime that they are being put in for, no matter if they committed another crime, right? If they are innocent of the crime they committed, if they are innocent of the crime that they are accused of and charged with and incarcerated for, then that is how is this current system still working? How are people still okay with this? Because that means you are always at risk of an invalid incarceration. Simple as that. Now, if you want to add race back into the mix of it, there's a higher percentage of black people in prisons than any other race. And because there are innocent people in prison, the rate of the innocent black people in prison, because they make up a more substantial amount of the people in prison to begin with, that means inherently, if you do the math, that just, because I don't want to explain it with notes, but just look it up. That means there is a higher percentage of innocent black people in prison. And then there's an understanding I have with the social movements that are in place. Whether or not I agree with the method of giving and delivering that method, there is validity because of this basic issue. Whether or not this is their reason or not, that itself gives it validity. But also because any race of people can be innocent, because innocent people are put into prison when you're a person first. That means if you are innocent of a crime, that person's innocent, they are in prison. You can be imprisoned because you are innocent, they are innocent. That is a similarity that you have. Being a human, being innocent. This innocent person put in prison. You have the same risk of being put in prison because you're innocent. That is 100%, that's right? That's just numbers. So why everyone should be living in fear of not living in fear? Yes, because that's what it's being used. So the current system, innocent people can be put in prison. The system should not exist as it is because then all of the constituents are at risk. I repeated that several times, so you got that. Please, put it on loop. Tell somebody. So how do we fix this? How do we fix innocent people being put into prison? This is how we fix it. We understand why innocent people are being put into prison. What is the standard of proof necessary to incarcerate someone for specific crimes? See, there are criminal offenses and then there are personal liability offenses, so civil disputes, civil offenses, right? This would explain. I'm trying to do it in a way that I don't have to. I'm trying not to go all over the place because this gets me worked up. Like, I'm not emotional ever, and I'm not emotional right now, but this gets me so very irritated with the way the things people are concerning themselves with and the people that they vote for, right? And the fact that there's the options that we have for voting and people supporting a person with certain ideas or used to have certain ideas that has contributed to certain things in our society. So, and I spoke about that in my last video, go back so you can understand what I'm saying with this one. And it applies to every single political party currently. The ones that are currently public. Well, the ones that I have knowledge of. It's applicable. So what do we do? how are innocent people being imprisoned, incarcerated, charged, fined, when there is a certain standard of proof that is required for all of these things? So understanding that that happens with the current system, I'm trying to speak in a way that is not too complicated. Current system has its purpose. The purpose of a system, okay, so I'm using general terms of purpose, but this applies to anything with purpose, but we're applying it to the prison system. Okay, so the intention, right? The intention of the prison system is to punish, correct, and is to isolate, first of all, punish, correct, and redistribute into society if deemed right. That's the intention of the prison system, the jail system, the judiciary system. It's meant to justify whatever punishment you receive is meant to justify the person, the victim of it, whatever, if there is a victim, your time or your money is supposed to justify that for them. So it's for the victim. So who's the victim? Identify your victim first. That's the intention of it. To closure, justice is what judiciary system is for. The prison system is for. It's for justice. Intention. That's its intention. What is its purpose? Remember I said this purpose applies to everything. The purpose of this system is what it does. So yes, it does its intended thing. It can do that. It can do what its intention is, but its purpose is what it actively does. So whatever the intention you have for a product, whenever that is then out of your control of your intentionality. So this system has its intended purpose, and then it has its actual purpose in reality. Its actual functional purpose. So once that is out of your hands, once it's been created, once it is available for others, for other variables to be impacted upon it by other than yourself, the person that created the intention for the system or product, the purpose of that product or system is how it is being used, regardless of your intention for it. So if you have an intention for the system and it is working successfully, congratulations. If that system or product is then used in a different way that is creating a particular or certain result as well, more even once, but if it's happening consistently, that will change the direction of what you can. It changes the marketability of the product or service, or it changes the. It makes it more versatile in its uses. It makes it multi-purposed, or right. So understanding that, because yes, the system works the way you intended it. It also works in these different ways. It works in ways, and it works in this way that innocent people consistently get put in and chewed out and die inside and become worse people, even altering the course of this person's life, whether or not they can use that experience to benefit. They were not the intention. You took away their time because I hope I explained that well. But the system has a variable of an innocent person being used inside the system when they should not be part of that system. You can no longer, it should not be advertised as the best system when it's doing a function that you did not intend it to do, that is harming people, something that is harmful. That means there should be a warning label. That is why there are now warning labels on products. That is why things get recalled. We need to recall our judiciary system. We need to recall every single thing that has a variable of that has had enough and a substantial thing, because then those people, when you take away and if they ever get found, if their innocence ever gets found out, which some it may not, and we don't know, but for those whose innocence is found, how do you justify, where is their justice? They are not a victim of the system you created to bring closure to another victim. You have personally created a new victim trying to appease a different victim. Yes, the first person was a victim. Yes, that person deserves closure. But this not victimizing an innocent does not give you this. That doesn't, the innocence. Your intention does not justify the victimization that you created on this that you created and you were a conduit of. Your perpetration of this innocent person that is now part of your system because this system did not function correctly. So how do you atone? How does this victim get their justice when this is the only system that is in place? So how, if they just have to go back through you, and you were the one that, it's like, okay, so it's like, perfect example, penicillin, listen to me now. Penicillin is a medicine, extraordinary piece of technology, revolutionary piece of technology, revolutionary in terms of its uses, in terms of the lives it saves. It's amazing, an amazing piece of technology. Yes, but and for a lot of people, it works very successfully. It makes you better. It makes you be able to live an extended life. However, people are allergic to penicillin. How do you find out you're allergic to penicillin? By being injected with it, right? You get sick. It's the newest piece of technology ever at the time. So I'm thinking about origination of penicillin. So this is where I'm insulting whoever's intelligence, whoever believes the system, you should still work with the current system we got, right? I'm insulting your intelligence right now. So you believe we can work with this system? I'm insulting you. There's no reason, we are not on the same we don't have the same intellectual capacity. And I'm saying, yes, mine is far superior to yours because you are still trying to work with this. There's no reason you should be. People are allergic to penicillin and they get sick. They don't have anything other on the market, so they inject them with penicillin again to get rid of the effects that penicillin gave it the first time. That makes sense. That's exactly what the justice system is. It's giving you a double that for the people that are innocent. Something that is supposed to protect them harms them, and then the only thing to protect them from what harms them is to get potentially harmed again from the apparatus that is supposed to be protecting you. These are things you can expand on. All right, come back next week for part 2. I'm just going to continue right here, and I'm going to break this up. Thank you for watching Breathing is Highly Dangerous. Please share this with anyone you believe that needs this message. Please share this so I can spend more time doing this and being able to and getting supported. And you know, if you support what I believe, then please share it with other people. That'd be an amazing help to me and society as a whole, which is what the most important part is. So I'm only doing this out of care for other people. I'm not doing it for myself because my thoughts are with me. I can change my life based on my thoughts. But if you did not hear these thoughts yet, then you can't change if you haven't heard something. So if you heard something new, if you think this is someone else needs to hear, please share it. And that is the most imperative thing about knowledge. Share it. Okay? Be blessed, stay blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video coming next, maybe later this week or next week. Keep an eye open or ear out. Cheers.